What's going on, Celtics fans? Welcome into Celtics Today by Chat Sports. You got Allie Barefoot here, the same host that was here about 10 hours ago when we were live for Game 1. And what a Game 1 that was for the Boston Celtics to make a statement the way that they did, dominating the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals, winning 107-89, forcing Luka and Kyrie to hit the bench with 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. I mean, come on. It was beautiful. But, as the late Kobe Bryant said, job's not finished. So, with that being said, welcome into our live show right after Game 1. We're going to break down what the Boston Celtics themselves had to say about their dominant victory. And then we're going to have a mailbag where we answer your questions about the Boston Celtics. On the back half of this live stream, we will give our 3 offensive keys to victories and 3 defensive keys to victory for Game 2. Because believe me, it may not look like how it did in Game 1. With that being said, let's see who is in our live show as of right now. Go ahead and spam your shams in the comment section. I got about 27 people watching. Thank you guys for joining in with me. I know that today is Friday. You've all got jobs to do. You've all got errands to run. So thank you for spending your afternoon with us. I promise I'm not going to hold you guys too long. We just want to get all of our thoughts out because when we do it in the postgame, we're still riding that high. We're going through all of those stats and what we just saw. But then when you finally get to sit on it and you finally get to go and see what all the media outlets are talking about, it gives us another opportunity to come back here with you guys after we have processed what we just saw and then really analyze it and break it down. So I got the real ones in here. Duncan, who said he was driving through Chicago yesterday during Game 1. I hope you are having a good ride there. Celtic Raider, Robert Bruce, Maya's World, 93 Navman as always. I got Derek as well. Robert Bruce, John Edward Kruger in here. So it looks like all the real ones are ready to go. All right, well, here's the thing. I want you guys to go ahead and give me your one-word reaction to the Game 1 win over the Dallas Mavericks. Like I said, it's been about 10, 11 hours that we've now gotten to process what the hell just happened in Game 1 versus the Dallas Mavericks. So, I mean, obviously, my one-word reaction is just going to be dominant. It was just a punch in the mouth to play your former teammate, Kyrie Irving, to take that Game 1 in TD Garden, to shut up every analyst out there that was like, oh, I'll take the Celtics in 6, and apparently that was a wild take. So I think, nonetheless, it was just dominant. Duncan put 3 words together and just says, not over yet. Robert Bruce saying dominated. Dick to go just saying food. Christopher Domingo is happy, as you should be. While we're still in that sweet spot between Game 1 and Game 2, it is nice to just relish in it. I got Maya saying blowout. 93 Navman already coming in with a hashtag Celtics question for our mailbag. Appreciate you. Love that question as well. If you guys want to ask question, you can feel free to do that. Just use hashtag Celtics to make sure we get in there. 93 Navman's one word is focus. Robster is domination. Celtic Raiders, 3 words in 1. Good, not great. Yes, it's 1 word. Vamp saying 3 more. Jay saying sweep. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of words you can use to describe that Game 1 victory. Obviously, we're now in the Chat Sports office, and everybody's kind of like, what happened? Like, where was Kristaps Porzingis was on another world. That was Bill Walton playing through Kristaps Porzingis in Game 1. But we do still have Game 2. So, like we asked in our post-game last night, what do the Celtics need to change for Game 2? Because it was not a perfect game. We know that. We saw some missed opportunities. We saw some failed switches. We saw some lackluster transition defense. So I do think that is probably going to be my number 1 takeaway here, is to just keep capitalizing on your transition defense, knowing the Dallas Mavericks are very good at it. I have no complaints about how they fought for the second chances, how they dominated at the rim with 55 rebounds over the Mavericks 50, and then the fact that they held them to, I'm going to say 7 assists. I know the box score says 9, but 2 of those assists came when the starters were out in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. To hold the Mavericks to 7 assists total is insane. That is phenomenal defense. And I know the Mavericks do like to play iso ball, though. They like to have Luka and Kyrie just do the damn thing. So to really have them struggle I'll say it's hard to say struggle when Luka still gets a double-double, but Kyrie definitely struggled as well. All right. Whew. Well, I think we need to talk about the real storyline here, and that's Kristaps Porzingis. And he's back, baby. He is back. That was insane what we saw from Tingus Pingus. And I had a hunch. I told Smitty I had a hunch that KP was going to come out and just absolutely look unalive. That's exactly the opposite of what he did. He was incredible. If you guys are glad Kristaps Porzingis is back, go on ahead and like this video for me. Show him some love. We got 30 people watching. 15 people have liked the video. Let's see if we can just match that viewership. See if we can just get 30 likes here. Everybody that's in here can like that video for me. I also made the poll here for you guys. Who's your Game 1 MVP? And 70% of you guys said Kristaps Porzingis. That's kind of a no-brainer. Now, I will mention he wasn't, as lively in the second quarter. He only had 2 points in the second half, But that first half, man, I'll take it. I just didn't realize how much I missed Kristaps, and he definitely proved, the Celtics proved when KP was injured that they don't need him to win the finals, but boy, oh boy, does it make it a lot better when he is on the court and makes it that much easier to obtain Banner 18. Nadman saying the way KP played, ran up and down the court, makes me think the C's let the severity of his injury get overblown on purpose. Thoughts? That thought definitely did cross my mind because he was playing like he hasn't been injured for a while. But I just think that was... I think that was his comeback game. Obviously, he would not have played if he was not 100% ready to go. So, no, I do not think it was any fabrication the Celtics did about his injury report to scare off opponents or do whatever. I don't think that was playing possum. What I think that was is KP entered the game, and the roar of TD Garden helped fuel that. Because think about it. This is not a regular season Joe Schmo game. This is the NBA Finals. Your adrenaline is going to be through the roof. So when you mix in that adrenaline with something to prove, a.k.a. you're returning to the game that you love, I think that's going to fuel the performance that Porzingis had. Because once he started, I don't think he overthought anything. Even KP said after the game, I just proved to myself that I am a pretty good basketball player. And he even said, not great, but a pretty good basketball player. So I think he surprised himself as well. So no, I don't think this was a playing possum type of situation. I think this was adrenaline mixed in with talent. Corey Childs coming in with a hashtag Celtics. Can Jason Tatum play better in Game 2 than he played in Game 1? I would love to discuss that on our mailbag. Great question there. Corey, Gavin Powell saying hashtag Celtics. Do we think Porzingis will start in Game 2? We can definitely talk about that. Same with Oscar asking the same question of where do we think KP is going to play, coming off the bench or starting. So it looks like we got a good couple of questions heading in here to our mailbag, but let's go ahead and show you guys what is actually on our show here today. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and break down what the Boston Celtics, the players themselves, had to say about Game 1. And then we're going to go into our mailbag right after that. You guys already have your questions in there, but if you want to, go on ahead and you don't have to worry about it. Don't worry about it. Go on ahead and use hashtag Celtics, or you can super chat using hashtag Celtics. That way we will automatically answer your question. And then on the back half of the show, we're going to go into our Game 2 preview. Smitty and I are going to give our 3 offensive keys to victory and our 3 defensive keys to victory after a dominant Game 1 win. But I really wanted to hop on here today and tell you guys what the Celtics think of their performance, because it is giving me mama mentality. It is definitely showing me, hey, look, they're going to bask in what just happened, but they're also going to be like, hey, job's not finished. So I'm looking forward to Game 2 a lot. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our first segment here of the Boston Celtics speaking out on Game 1. And then I want you guys to stick around to the very end of this show, this segment, because Kyrie Irving had something to say about TD Garden, which I think Boston fans are going to take to heart moving into Game 2. Smitty, you ready? All right, let's go ahead and jump into it, shall we? Happy Friday, Boston Celtics fans, and happy day after a Game 1 blowout win over the Dallas Mavericks. As you guys can see, 107-89. We have now had about 12 hours, more than 12 hours, to really appreciate and digest what just happened in the first game of the NBA Finals. And while we already did post our live reactions to Game 1 on Celtics Today by Chat Sports, I want to hop on here and talk to you guys about what the Celtics had to say about their amazing performance, but what they can do differently moving forward. So with that being said, if you're glad the Celtics are up 1-0 against the Dallas Mavericks, go on ahead and like this video. Show the Boston Celtics some love. Hit that thumbs up button, because I'll tell you what, if we were down 0-1 right now, this video would look a lot different. But like I said, the Celtics are not satisfied with just one win, as they should be. The fact is, Game 1 doesn't really mean anything in a Game 7 series, if it happens to go there. ESPN did drop a good little statistic there saying that 70% of Game 1 winners do go on to win the NBA Finals, but Kobe Bryant said it first. Job's not finished. And Jaylen Brown is really bringing on that Mamba mentality as well after his Game 1 dominance. He did have a team-high 22 points. He said in the locker room, this video went viral all over X this morning. I was watching it. In the locker room, everybody's giving their high fives. You know, even Deuce Tatum is giving the fist bump. We love it. And he said, don't get cute, fellas. Come on, it's just one game. That's what I need. I need that to be the mentality until you are hoisting Larry O'Brien's trophy above your head. I think that don't get cute, fellas, is the perfect thing to say. Be humble. Job's not finished. And here are my 3 takeaways from that Game 1 that I want to hear what the Celtics had to say about these major takeaways. Number 1, Porzingis is back. We're going to hear from Tingus Pingus himself on what he had to say about his unholy type of performance. And then the Celtics do still have third quarter troubles, but you got to trust Joe Mazzulla and you got to trust the Boston Celtics. They ended that third quarter with still a 20-point lead, so they really dug themselves out when they did decrease that lead to 8 points. And on the back half, Boston's defense was elite. We're going to talk about what Kyrie Irving had to say about getting a little shaken up in TD Garden. But first things first, Tingus Pingus. Here's what he had to say about his comeback to the court. It's kind of like a blur to me right now. I have to rewatch the game, what happened and stuff like that, but I was completely just in the game. That's the best feeling. Like, I had the most fun. And then he went on to say about his injury update that all of these thoughts went through my mind in that moment when he was asked if he was 100% ready to play. And Kristaps says, like, what do I answer? I want to say I'm fine, but obviously I haven't played. So he wanted to make sure he wasn't lying to people. And he said, I haven't been out there. I haven't had the feel of like, okay, am I 100%, you know? So he wanted to clarify maybe why he didn't have that confidence when he made his first press conference saying, hey, Kristaps, you feeling 100%? You good to go? And he's like, I hope so. And I do see where he's coming from because, no, 5-on-5 is not going to be the exact same as going up against Dallas Mavericks in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. So I appreciate his answer, and I appreciate Kristaps Porzingis really explaining to the media and to the fans like myself, hey, man, I didn't mean to scare y'all. I didn't mean to, like, lead you on, but I just wasn't sure. And here's what Porzingis also said on whether he's 100% heading in to Game 1. After that dominant performance, he said, tonight was an affirmation to myself that I'm good. Maybe I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty good. You could tell watching Kristaps Porzingis, there was nothing going on in his mind other than basketball. And when you see a player lock in like that, we have seen Kyrie Irving lock in like that, Steph Curry, LeBron James. When you get a really good player like Porzingis to lock in that moment, it creates the masterpiece that was the first half of Tingus Pingus returning to the Boston Celtics. I want to break down what the Boston Celtics had to say about their third quarter woes, as well as their elite defense against the Dallas Mavericks in just one moment. But first things first, let me tell you guys about Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. If you guys are looking to turn your $10 right now in your wallet into $1,000, then keep listening, because Prize Picks, you can do just that. All you guys have to do is pick more or less on a player's projected stats, and you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. It's not just the NBA either. WNBA, MLB also going on right now. Of course, you got golf fluctuating in and out of that. NFL season is also right around the corner, so there are a sports category for every single fan out there. And here are my picks already for Game 2 on Sunday. KP more than 15 points? Yeah. If he has a game like he did in game 1, that's a for sure guarantee. I have Kyrie Irving having less than 2.5 3-pointers made. This might be a little bit tricky because you went 0 for 5 from the 3-point line in game 1. I highly doubt that ever happens again in this series, but maybe they could hold him to just under 2 threes made in game 2. Holiday to have more than 5 assists. Obviously, he does the great work behind the scenes to help the Celtics score and help the Celtics thrive. So I got Holiday really facilitating here on offense. Here are my prize picks. Feel free to copy them or go on ahead and make your own. All you guys have to do is download the app and use promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. And one more time, use that promo code CLNS. And all you guys have to do is pick more or less. It is truly that easy to watch yourself win some real money in real time. What is up with the Boston Celtics in the third quarter? Honestly, because every time they come out of halftime, I have this horrible anxiety that comes over me that they're going to screw it up. Thankfully, the Celtics had a large enough lead heading into the third quarter that they could allow the Mavericks to build back and come back just a little bit into single digits, but they also started to regain their confidence. They started to calm down. They started to play better Celtics basketball. That third quarter, man, that is the Achilles heel of this Celtics team. But you got to trust Joe Mazzulla, and you got to trust the Celtics to be able to bounce back. Here's what Derek White had to say on the Celtics third quarter in game 1. He said, "You just took a deep breath, stayed together, stayed composed, and we kind of got good looks offensively. Then we moved the ball." Jaylen Brown pretty much reiterating what Derek White had to say. We just said, just breathe. The game is starting now. Just breathe. We're in this moment where our experience shines through. Just breathe. Just keep playing basketball. And when I heard those two very similar quotes, I'm thinking, somebody must have said that to everybody. And that would be Joe Mazzulla, playing Mazzulla ball, not worrying about what they did wrong, not worrying about what they're going to do right, just saying, hey, look, that was not the best start. You keep breathing, you keep playing, it's going to start to come in our favor. And I do think that speaks highly of what Joe Mazzulla has to say to lead his basketball team. And then when you flip it on the other end, the Celtics defense was elite, specifically at the rim. I'm talking about the block party that I wasn't invited to, but that's okay. I don't think I would have done as good as Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, and Jason Tatum had done. And then it was also locking down Luka Doncic, which was unbelievable. Yeah, he had 30 points. I get it. But that wasn't Luka in his best game. And here's what Drew Holiday said about why the Celtics were so great guarding Luka Doncic. He said, I think it helps a lot throwing different guys at him, different guys that play defense differently, some aggressive, some not. But I think even our white guys guard. I love that. I love that from Drew Holiday. And you got to give credit so-and-so to the white guys, but also to the rest of the team. Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard were also great. Smitty and I were talking about there was 1 3 that Kyrie had that went behind the backboard, and Sam Hauser was guarding Kyrie Irving. Do not sleep on Sam Hauser's defense. Do not sleep on the scrappiness of Peyton Pritchard as well. I think those 2 players coming off the bench are key rotational players on both sides of the ball to keep dominating in Game 2. But I do think we will see a different Dallas Mavericks in Game 2, specifically a different Kyrie Irving. We had Jeffrey Cooperstein, the host of Mavericks Today by Chat Sports, came into our studio and said, Kyrie will never play like this again in this series. 0 for 5, he had 12 points, he was turning the ball over. I mean, he looked frazzled. And then he ended up having a message for TD Garden, which I thought was just in the most Kyrie Irving fashion ever, is scoring 12 points and multiple turnovers. And this is the comment you give after the game saying, I thought it was going to be a little louder in here. Well, whatever it was loud enough, Kyrie Irving. It looked like it was loud enough because the way that he was playing looked completely frazzled. And I agree. I will not say that he will be frazzled for the rest of the series because Kyrie Irving is a phenomenal clutch time player. But I probably wouldn't poke the bear being TD Garden, if I was Kyrie Irving. But with that being said, if you thought TD Garden was rocking for Game 1, obviously we weren't there. our stream was rocking for Game 1, then just like this video. If you want TD Garden to be rocking for Game 2, go on ahead and like this video to show the Boston Celtics some love. And as always, go Boston Celtics. All right, that was our first segment. Just telling you guys what the Boston Celtics had to say about their win, dominant win over the Dallas Mavericks. And go ahead and like this video if you guys think TD Garden was rocking for Game 1. So obviously, they're not satisfied, as you should not be. That was a dominant win. It was great, but you got more to play. That's why it's a 7-game series. So I do think that they realized what they had to do to play better in Game 2. With that being said, especially in those third quarters, which is ridiculous. But now I want to hear from you guys. We heard from the Boston Celtics. Smitty and I have talked our ass off. I'm trying not to talk too much here today because my voice is raw right now. So we're definitely gonna have to be sipping on some tea later and make sure that's all good to go. But if you guys have any questions about the Boston Celtics in Game 1, go on ahead and use #Celtics, or you can super chat using #Celtics. That way your question will automatically get answered. If you just comment using #Celtics, Smitty's going to kind of weave in and out through those questions and see which ones really fit our show. So there's a ton you can ask about. You can talk about Jason Tatum's performance. You can ask something in the sorts of, will Kristaps Porzingis end up starting? But just make sure you use #Celtics. That's how you guys can get into our feed as well. I got a lot of questions. I think Joe Mazzulla, I think Jason Kidd is not going to take these next 2 practices lightly. I think Jason Kidd is still the better coach, so he can definitely come back swinging a lot harder and throw something at Joe Mazzulla he's not expecting either, because I cannot believe, I refuse to believe that in Game 1 was everything the Mavericks had to give. That's just not true. Jason Kidd alone is going to prepare his team a little bit better. And, in the Mavericks' defense, I don't think they had enough time to really prepare for a team like Kristaps Porzingis because they weren't sure if Kristaps Porzingis was playing either. So you really do have to work around that as well. There's definitely questions of Luka Doncic's, God, that's a horrible thing to say, his energy level. But he can only do so much because you have to look. When Luka is putting up his normal points, double-double, triple-double, if there is zero help from the team, he can only do so much. And that makes it a lot easier on defense to just focus on Luka. And I did see that towards the fourth quarter. They were double-teaming Luka because they're like, hey, man, Kyrie's just not here right now. So I don't know if that'll happen again, but it was definitely interesting. Smith, where are we at? All right, you want to jump in? All right, going ahead and jump in here to our mailbag episode of this live stream. Thank you guys for all of your questions, and let's go on ahead and break that down here. Feel free to stick around, comment along with us, like the video, super chat, and let's go on ahead and rip into it. What's going on, Boston Celtics fans? We want to hear from you guys. Right in between on this Saturday, in between Game 1 and Game 2, I want to hear what Celtics Today subscribers thought about that Game 1 performance and also looking ahead into Game 2, because we're going to post our keys to victory and our Game 2 preview tomorrow morning. But first things first, let's see how we all collectively feel as a whole, shall we? Oh my goodness! Smitty's burner is back and ready. And shout out to his graduation picture from St. Bonaventure. Will Porzingis play a better game in the series than he did Game 1? This was a huge question in Smitty and I's conversations and also in our chat sports conversations, because there was some higher power working with and through Kristaps Porzingis in that first half of his redemption game coming back from his injury. I want to say yes, because I want to say that wasn't all adrenaline. It was definitely it was a lot talent. I just don't see Kristaps Porzingis coming off that. I mean, that was probably the best game of his career. That was an electric way to come back from an injury and to start your Game 1 of the NBA Finals. But I do think there was a lot of adrenaline in that situation. I do think that there were a lot of just trying to prove to yourself and trying to prove to the Boston Celtics that you can do this and you are 110%, and then being fueled by a sold-out arena in TD Garden. I don't know if the circumstances will ever lead back up to that ball game, but in terms of talent, the blocking, the three-point shots, the aggressiveness, we've seen that. all season long. So I do think we'll continue to see that. But in this trajectory, maybe not. But here's why you guys subscribe to Celtics Today by Chat Sports. We're live for every single Celtics game this postseason. We had 300,000 people tuned in for Game 1. And we're going to see how many we can get here for Game 2 as well. We also gained over 1,000 subscribers during Game 1. Thank you guys so much, but the job's not finished. Just like the Boston Celtics. Continue to hit that sub button for me, and let's get into it. My main man, 93 Navman, that is, saying hashtag Celtics. I think Mazzulla has improved 1,000% over last year. He has his team's attention now. Agree? 100%. 100% agree. And I will be fully transparent. I think Joe Mazzulla still has a long way to go to be a successful head coach in the NBA. And I do think what he's done this year is successful, but you're also given the utensils and the resources to be successful. So I think that Joe Mazzulla has my respect. Mazzulla ball, I am fully on that train. But I do think if you want that stamp of approval, of respect from not only the Boston Celtics, but from your team, you go out and you win Banner 18. Because you have to think, that team last year was not his team. It was Ime Udoka's. It was handed to Joe Mazzulla about a week before the season started. So I do think that Joe Mazzulla has fully crafted himself. And let me tell you, he does some wacky things in practice, but it seems to work. And I like it. Dick, what do you have to say, my man? Hashtag Celtics, what adjustments can the Mavs make? I personally think Gafford and Lively are going to get played off the court due to bad matchups. I do agree with this, but I'll tell you what, man, I wouldn't give Gafford a bad matchup because he was on Tatum, and I do think that is one of the reasons why Tatum was locked up in the first half. And if you look back at the preview, if you look back at the game, he was double-teamed the entire time. There was one play where Tatum started to drive down low, was double-teamed by Gafford and Luka, and you can just see Jaylen Brown and Derek White completely wide open on those corners, allowing Tatum to facilitate the basketball. Do I think Derek Lively will have 5 fouls again? No. Do I think Gafford still has a lot more offensively that he can do? Absolutely. I do think we will see several different Dallas Mavericks make a difference in the Game 2. But adjustments, I just think offensively, they need to be in a better rhythm. I think Kyrie Irving cannot leave Luka alone to carry the team. I don't think they'll thrive that way. And honestly, if they have the resources, then you are going to need somebody to come off the bench and really provide that spark the way that Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard do for the Boston Celtics. Or else, you're right, it could be a bad matchup for the Dallas Mavericks. Oscar P, 24, coming out. Do you think KP should continue coming off the bench for the rest of the finals? Ooh. No, I don't. Okay, so I'm here now. I think Kristaps Porzingis should start. I think Al Horford has done phenomenal, but I do think that in this matchup against the Mavericks, Kristaps Porzingis playing his former team, he obviously knows the system a little bit better. I would start Kristaps, and I would go back to what was working the entire regular season, and that's Al Horford coming off the bench in that first rotation instead of Porzingis coming off the bench for Al Horford. I love Big Al, but he is 38 years old. You got Tingus for this reason, and if he's good to go, you start him. And I have more questions to answer in just a few moments, but I want you guys to be hip to the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I'm talking about Prize Picks, baby. I play this every single game day. Here's why you guys should too. Go on ahead, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Or go on ahead and download the app and still use promo code CLNS. When you get there, just go on ahead and pick between 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on a player's projected stats. And you can win up to 100 times your money. You guys can go on ahead and make your prize picks right now for Sunday's game against the Dallas Mavericks. I do have Kristaps Porzingis popping off once more than 15 points. Kyrie Irving, less than 2.5 3-pointers made, and Drew Holiday to have more than 5 assists. Plus, you guys can always have promotions with Prize Picks. You got Taco Tuesday, Flex Friday as well, and several different discounts for players and their projected stats on every single game. Go on ahead, go to download the app Prize Picks and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. One more time, go to Prize Picks. Use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. I promise it's that easy. Corey Childs coming in. Can Jason Tatum play better in Game 2 than he played in Game 1? Absolutely he can play better than he did in Game 1. But you have to realize is that Tatum, who said this himself, I do not have to score 35 points a night to be great. He does so much off ball that helps the Celtics win. They decided to double team Jason Tatum in Game 1, and that was a stupid decision. Because this is not, you can't play strong side defense like the Mavericks do. The Celtics offense is too deep to continue to do that. So when I was talking to Smitty last night, I'm like, think of it this way. Jason Tatum is the conductor for the train. He is what gets them from point A to point B. The Celtics may damn near be in the negatives, the minus, when Tatum is not on the court. In facilitating, in drawing in defenders, because you also can't leave Tatum wide open. In rebounding, I think Jason Tatum is the glue that holds together the Celtics. And I do think he can do more in Game 2, and I'm excited to see what his plan is and what his play will look like on Sunday. Nick Howardson coming in with a $20 super chat. Last night, the Celtics defense was as elite as I've ever seen. Do you think the Celtics defense could be even more stifling in Game 2? Even more? It would take everything. It would take everything in them because it did look damn near perfect in Game 1. Do I think they could be just as good? Absolutely. But I do agree that it's going to be, this is what Jaylen Brown said. He says every single game is different. It's going to be a different challenge on Sunday, especially with a coach like Jason Kidd. He's not going to allow that to happen again. So I will need the Celtics to be just as dominant. Absolutely. Can they do better than they did in Game 1? If they do, I mean, I don't know who's stopping them. But I do think their Celtics defense was elite. And I am very excited to see what else they have here. And I think their transition defense needs to get better. But I think that their rim protection was excellent. Their blocking was excellent. The steals were fantastic. Locking up Kyrie Irving every time he dribbled inside the paint was beautiful. I think the defense was there. Even Drew Holiday said, man, the white guys can even guard. And talking about Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard, I mean, we're deep, man, when it comes to defense. That's what happens when you have two all-defensive players on your backcourt for the Celtics here. So I'm expecting a lot more. Nabman, I think there's a very good chance JB may win Finals MVP with the obvious chip he has on his shoulder. What you think? I love this. I love this question because my boyfriend and I were actually having a couple of beers last night after the game, celebrating a great win. And we're talking, I'm like, I think it has to be Jaylen Brown. But when it's two very different conversations here because you're probably looking at Tatum and Brown to be the Finals MVP if they win. You got to get the job done first. But with Tatum, you're looking at an all-around better player. But with Brown, you're looking at a better player for that series. So it's going to be very tough. I think they have two different categories here. They're just in two different type of playing styles to be looked at. But I don't vote. But if I did, just based on Game 1, yeah, it would be Jaylen Brown. No, Ruben, are you worried at all about the Mavericks making it a 8-point game? Yeah, I am. Not so much for the Mavericks part of it all, but for the Celtics, because Smitty and I have watched this. We have watched every single ball game this season. And we knew this coming into the third quarter last night was that, for the love of God, just keep your lead, man. Just don't make it harder on yourself. And then what do? They allow the Mavericks to cut it with an 8. So I do think that scares the hell out of me because things aren't changing. I'm not understanding why the Celtics can't seem to start off the third quarter on the right foot. And thankfully, the Celtics had a 20-point lead heading into the third quarter, so they could waver their lead just a little bit. But it worries me. I don't know how to change it. I'm not Joe Mazzulla. I don't know what to fix because this has been a problem all year long. But I'm tired of it. And if their motto and their reasoning for it is just to breathe through it and know that you can come out on top, then if that works, it works. But that was it worried me. And I'll tell you what, man, it worried me even more because Gafford started to get a little bit of a run. P.J. Washington started to get a little bit of confidence, and he got pissed off too. And then Luka started draining everything from downtown. So if you let their resources get hot, it's going to be a tough ball game. Oh, who's this? Does Tatum need to be the number one in Game 2? No. He can be the decoy number one. He can keep being the number one that has to drive down low and pulling those two defenders and those double teams. I'll take that. I'll be the decoy number one. I do not care if Tatum is the leading scorer. I don't, because he averages a double-double, and there's a reason for that. He has so many roles on this Celtics offense and defense that, no, he may not be able to produce the numbers like a Luka may do every single night. But look at it. It's Luka and Kyrie. That's it. When you look at the Celtics, it's Jaylen Brown, it's Tatum, it's Porzingis, it's Holiday, it's Derek White. I told Smitty last night, while Jaylen Brown may have led the Celtics in scoring on Thursday, Tatum can do it in Game 2. Derek White can do it in Game 3. Porzingis can do it in Game 4. Holiday can do it in Game 5. And we can keep going on and on. That's how stacked they are. So, no, I don't need Jason Tatum to be number one. Not even for his ego. I just need him to do the role that he is there to do to help the Celtics be number one. Last question here for you guys. Thank you for all your questions you had to say. Are you worried about the Mavericks in Game 2? Yeah. I think it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a much different game. Let me know what you guys think down below. Go on ahead and give me a follow on Twitter as well if you guys have not already at AR Barefoot. I did just reach over 1,000 followers on last night's stream. 2 nights ago stream. So thank you guys very, very much for all of your support. But go on ahead and hit me up on X at AR Barefoot. All right. Celtic Raider saying no. He's not worried. Nabman agreeing with me here, saying yes because of Jason Kidd. I think he's a good basketball coach there. Christopher Domingo is saying no. Smith, you got a yes or no here?
Yeah, I'm worried. I think they come out and make adjustments. The Jason Kidd and the Mavericks have been terrible in Game 1s historically, and they're obviously here, so they know how to respond. And I think that Kyrie and Luka are too good of shot makers and clutch performers to be able to just roll over and die and go down 2-0.
No, that's not their MO, man. And plus, you still got ballers like with Kyrie and Gafford and Luka and stuff. So, I mean, they're not just going to, succumb just because they got blown out in Game 1. They're going to be on an agenda as well. I think the Celtics were on an agenda in Game 1 because for some God-known reason, they were the underdog heading into not in Vegas' eyes, but in the media's eyes, they seem to be the underdog heading into Game 1, which is wild because they have done nothing but prove all year long this is the position they should be in, but apparently it's not enough. Whereas now the Mavericks have that chip on their shoulder of damn, man, we're the number 5 seed coming into this. We are obviously the favorite in the media's eyes. We came out and we got smoked. So now they're going to sit here and be like, oof, all right, here's what we got to do. They got 2 days to practice as well. They're not traveling anymore either. They're obviously still in Boston. So they're going to come out swinging. Luka may have a stellar performance in Game 2. I'm very nervous for what Luka himself is going to respond. Which we will talk about a little bit more here in our Game 2 preview coming up just shortly. But I want to see what you guys have to say in our live stream right now. Oh, man. I didn't go to sleep until late last night, man. I was still wired from the Game 1. I mean, we were screaming. You guys can actually go check out our short that we just put up when the Celtics won that little heater of a run the end of the first quarter. It was KP for 3. Beautiful. Then a block on Kyrie. Beautiful. Then Sam Hauser for 3. And Smitty and I are absolutely losing our marbles in that short. So go on ahead and check that out. It's on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. All right, so Smitty and I are going to tag team this one. We're going to talk about our Game 2 preview, our keys to victory on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. But Kieran Moore is actually saying who wins Game 2 determines whether this will be a 5 or 7 game series. And I kind of like that. Nadman is saying if this is 1-1, it could go 7 as well. And you got to think, other than what the Celtics did against the Pacers, that was their only Game 2 win they've had this postseason. Obviously, they lost to the Heat in Game 2. They lost to the Cavaliers in Game 2. So it hasn't historically been the Celtics' best game. So we'll have to see if this is they're going to break their superstition here. All right. Smith. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. Game 2 of the NBA Finals is tonight. We've got the Boston Celtics going up against the Dallas Mavericks once more in TD Garden. Game 1, it's over. That was beautiful while it lasted, but it's over. Now we have to look ahead to what is happening tonight, and I think there will be a very, very different Dallas Mavericks team on the court tonight. Different coach, different superstars. I think we're going to see a lot more aggression, and they're not going to look as frazzled as they did in Game 1. There were several instances where I was like, maybe the Mavericks just aren't prepared as much as I thought they were. They look like they're second-guessing everything. I highly doubt that'll be the case here tonight. But can the Celtics perform the way they did in Game 1? That'll be a big question as well. So I want you guys to go ahead and predict the score of the Game 2 of the NBA Finals in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys are thinking. My prediction for Game 1 was 128-117. Obviously, that was nowhere close to the 107-89 type of victory the Celtics had. So it could be anybody's ball game here. So for my prediction for Game 2, I'm going to go with 111 Boston Celtics. And I'm going to go with 109 Dallas Mavericks. All right, let's get into our keys to victory. Welcome in, Tyler Smith. All right.
What's going on?
Smith, we got to talk about the unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, Porzingis, what an entrance.
You got to unleash him, man. You got to stop with all restrictions now. He looks fully healthy, completely capable. You got to put him in the starting lineup. If I'm Joe Mazzulla, and I do not think Kristaps will have possibly the level of hype that was there for Game 1. I think the adrenaline was pumping for Game 1. But I do think that KP's talent is still there. And I'll tell you what I really, really missed was his height, his wingspan, and the fact that they were able to drop off the basketball in the paint numerous times when Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, or any other offensive player on the Celtics did not have that resource. And the way that he finished around the rim was just chef's kiss, Smitty.
It was phenomenal. I mean, he was finding mismatches. They were getting good switches on him, and he was able to just shoot over defenders, kind of bullying them there in the high post. Maybe a couple flops by guys like Jaden Hardy and Josh Green there that Chris has got field goals made over. But I want to kind of touch on the third quarter here. When the Mavericks really cut that lead to single digits. And Joe Mazzulla didn't really go back to Kristaps Porzingis. We know he had 18 in the first half, and then he only had that lone dunk there in the early stages of the third quarter. Then the Mavs went on their run, and they really didn't go to Porzingis much there. So I do like the unleash the unicorn kind of mantra here. Is if the Mavs have a clear matchup nightmare for Porzingis, why don't you just go to him? Why don't you run the offense completely through him when you're going through rough spats like that? It just feels like something that can kind of hit the reset button for Boston and make the Mavs defense play a little more honest and spread things out. Maybe collapse more in on Porzingis, and he up there with 7'3" can find shooters on the wing and what have you. So all around what he did there in the first half last night was something you can't replicate. I mean, it was one of the best quarters, halves of basketball I've seen from any Boston Celtic in my lifetime.
Yeah.
It was that legit. And I think if he continues to play like that, he's going to have a good chance at winning Finals MVP if the Celtics take this thing home. And I just think you have to go to him a little bit more than you did in the third quarter in Game 1.
I agree, and plus, you got to think about the circumstances with Derek Lively as well. I think that's probably going to be your best matchup for the Mavericks going up against Kristaps Porzingis, because Gafford was pretty much handling Jason Tatum, because you got to think Tatum's still 6'10", so you can't let him, run out like a point guard neither. So with Derek Lively, he had 5 fouls in the third quarter. So he wasn't able to really pull his full potential either because of that foul trouble. So Kristaps Porzingis got to have a little bit more of his way down low. So I do think Derek Lively is going to be a different person, which he's going to be the best matchup for Kristaps Porzingis as well, which goes along with Joe Mazzulla. If you're going to run with the unicorn, you might as well take off the reins and just let him do what he is best at. Okay. And what the Celtics seemed to be best at in Game 1 was continue to drive and draw the defense. I want to talk about Tatum here specifically, because there were several clips that I saw from Game 1 where they tried to double team. They tried to strong side Tatum, and he took advantage of that. He did not hang around the three-point line, and Tatum likes the ISO, and we got to see that a little bit, but it was the dribble drive down low and the immediate kick out to wide open three-point shooters around the arc. It was excellent the way the Celtics drew that in. And if Tatum needs to be the decoy to drive down low, I'm not sure if they're going to double team Tatum the way they did in game one because they realized it just didn't work because the Celtics offense is just too good. But I do think if you continue to draw that defense in, they do not have the resources on defense to lock up the Celtics offense in entirety.
This is a problem that the Mavs probably didn't realize that they were going to face, and it's a problem they haven't faced this entire postseason so far. You know, you talk about the first series. You know, they had Harden, Paul George, and they could kind of collapse on those guys. But the Clippers didn't really have the perimeter shooting and the 5-out offense ability that the Celtics do. And then you go to the second round against OKC, and you really have that one shot creator in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And you're looking at guys like Jalen Williams and Lou Dort, who are good, not great three-point shooters. And then Chet Holmgren the same way, good, not great. They just didn't have the lethal shooting that the Celtics do. And then you end up going to Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals. And, you know, they have Rudy Gobert on the floor half the time. He's just not even a threat on offense. That allows the Mavericks to play a completely different type of defense on Minnesota. Now you play the Celtics. They got 5 guys on the perimeter, and everybody has to be covered. They just couldn't do it last night. There has to be so much attention on Jason Tatum. There's screen grabs. There's game film. There's so much evidence of Jason Tatum just being so gravitational for this Mavericks defense. They were not able to cover everybody with the way that he commands the defense to guard him. There was 2, 3, 4. All eyes of every Mavericks defender was on Jason Tatum when he had the ball in his hands. So if you continue to drive and draw defense, have that defense collapse, there's going to be plays like when he found Derek White in the corner. There's going to be plays like when he finds Kristaps out for 3. Jason Tatum is the key to this offense.
Yes.
And if he continues to play the way that he is, just playing in the flow of things and not trying to be the hero, I don't care if he wins Finals MVP. I just want this ring, and Jason Tatum's doing what it takes to get it done.
Yeah, I think he'll say the same thing, too. He's definitely going to put his self-accolades aside to get
He's not trying to play
banner
hero
18.
ball out there.
No. And what was it, Smitty? I think 7 Celtics were in double digits last night. I mean, it was
7
just...
Celtics also hit multiple threes last night. Shout out Sam Hauser.
Oh, love that guy. So, obviously, their defense has a bigger challenge ahead of them in Game 2. But the Celtics were not clean. They were not clean the entire game. Jason Tatum, for a while there, only had 2 more points. He had 8.
In first half, at halftime, he had 8 points, 6 turnovers.
6 turnovers.
To be fair, he did clean that up in the second half. Zero TOs in the second half.
He did, but
overall,
6 is disgusting. 6 is disgusting. He wasn't the only one. There were definitely some sloppy plays that you were just trying to dribble and trying to make too many things happen. And Kyrie Irving is such a scrappy defender that he will try to work down low, which I do think Kristaps Porzingis. Peyton Pritchard driving down low. Jason Tatum, when he tried to have 2 teams, and he was double teamed, so I do see why that was more turnovers than not. But you just have to clean it up. You have got to secure the ball so much better. Because if the Mavericks had the offensive game they typically have, because I can't tell you last time they scored 87 points. I really can't.
Yeah.
Then if they were as hot as they have been in this postseason on offense, they will capitalize. Which, if I'm not mistaken, 9 times out of 10, they did score after every single Jason Tatum turnover. I don't know that for sure, but that's what it felt like watching them score the basket off of our turnover here for the Celtics.
Yeah, Tatum talked a little bit about how he felt going into the ball game, and he said he was nervous. He said, you know, it felt a little different than it did back in 2022, and he definitely felt the burden of losing and not making the finals last year. And he said he felt like a little kid out there, just like the nerves kind of got to him. And I guess I understand that, a little bit of a game 1 jitters for Jason Tatum and a couple other Celtics. I know Jaylen Brown had a turnover where he threw the ball out of bounds. Drew Holiday turned it over as well. So overall, I think the Celtics kind of came into their own a little bit. I think they ended up with 6. I think Jason Tatum actually might have had all 6 turnovers at the half. And then they ended up with 12 on the full game. So I can't be too upset with how things go. 12 turnovers isn't too bad over the course of an NBA game. But you want to limit those live ball turnovers. We talked about that before the series began, and how the Mavericks are so effective in transition. That really helps them get into a rhythm offensively. If you just allow them to not get those easy possessions, then things are going to be fine moving forward.
With that being said, we do have our defensive keys to victory as well in the back half of this show, but I do want to make sure that you guys know our sponsor here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Our sponsor is PrizePicks, and Smitty and I are both playing PrizePicks way before they actually ended up sponsoring this show, and there's two good reasons for that. One, it's extremely easy to play and win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks, and it's just super fun to play as well. It's just so aesthetically pleasing when you're going through the different players' projected stat types, the different teams, the different sports categories that they have. I mean, my goodness, you can do NBA full games. You can do first quarter, fourth quarter, second half for all WNBA, NBA games as well. They got the NFL coming back up. College football is right around the corner. If you guys are looking to turn $10 into $1,000, then PrizePicks is for you. All you guys have to do is pick between 2 to 6 players like I have here. I have 3. And just pick more or less. That's it. It probably took me, I'm going to start timing myself. It probably took me 21 seconds to make this. I'm going to be honest. This was so easy for me. Just testing my skills, seeing if I know the Celtics defense well enough to stop Kyrie Irving from having 3 made 3-pointers here. To have Kristaps Porzingis, trust in him to have more than 15 points. And same with Holiday, more than 5 assists. 5 million people across the nation are playing this app, and there's for a good reason. If you guys want to join 5 million strong, go on ahead, download the app, PrizePicks, and use promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. I promise it's going to be that easy to watch yourself win some real money in real time with quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and projected stat types. That's why I play PrizePicks. Find out why you guys do too. My first defensive key to victory here is to continue. Whatever Kyrie said, I don't care. He looked uncomfortable. He looked like he was not the playmaker and the ball handler that he has been. He started to get a little bit hot to start of the game. He started to do dribble drives and the step backs and the elbows and the posts and the wings, and I was like, oop, here we go. This is the Kyrie show. But then it was the turnovers. And I will point this out. I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but I will point it out. Mike Gorman did disclose via X through a source that he got into it with a fan, and maybe that threw him off a little bit. I'm not sure if that's true. I haven't confirmed it. That's what Mike Gorman, I trust anything that man says, but I could see that 110% happening. We know TD Garden is not a fan of Kyrie from what he did to their arena, to Lucky and that kind of stuff, but nonetheless, all that drama aside, Kyrie did not look good in Game 1.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw a tweet. You talk about what Gorman said, and it's Kyrie was shooting around before Game 1, and he was all happy and whatnot. And then somebody quoted it and said, "Yeah, it's all fun and games until Bill from Watertown gives you his worst while they're playing." So Kyrie, I guess, was a little bit affected by the TD Garden crowd, and I think he might have tried to. I'm missing the word here, but make up for it, I guess. When he with his post-game comments, when he said, "I thought it'd be louder in here," maybe he was trying to kind of just dispel what happened during the game with him getting into a fan. But aside from all that's all nonsense. Let's talk about the play on the court.
Right.
It was just a weird game for Kyrie Irving. He was missing wide open threes, which I don't really.
0 for 5.
Yeah, I don't see him doing. He actually, I'm not going to sit here and act like his 3-point attempts were heavily contested. The Celtics played elite defense on the perimeter on Kyrie Irving. They played good defense, but a lot of those 3-point attempts were open, and Kyrie ended up missing them. So expect for that to change through the course of this series. But I do think that Derek White and Drew Holiday did a phenomenal job on Kyrie Irving.
I was going to say.
They made life difficult on him. And shout out Sam Hauser one more time. Clamped him up in the corner, made it Kyrie 3, hit the side of the backboard. So that one was heavily contested. Shout out Sam Hauser. But the guards did a phenomenal job guarding him. They have to keep making his life difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell me Drew Holiday was not absolutely clamping up Kyrie Irving. And I know that may not have been his best game. I understand. But Drew Holiday was doing the damn thing. And I love that matchup, man. I think the speed is right there. I think Holiday is one of the best players in the Celtics to move off switches, to not get stopped by his screen. So I do think that Drew Holiday is going to continue to bring his A game against Kyrie Irving. And then they did typically have Derek White more times than I probably would have on Luka Doncic. But like Drew Holiday said, they kept throwing different defenders, different players at him. If you mix up those different defensive styles, it's going to make it that much harder on Luka. But I do think Holiday, most of the time, being on Kyrie, has to be my favorite. Has to be my favorite matchup. Even when Peyton Pritchard comes in for Holiday, he's got that speed right there with Kyrie. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit harder to defend somebody like Kyrie of his capabilities, and Peyton Pritchard just, still being pretty young in this league. So overall, if you continue to kind of make him uncomfortable, whether that's the surroundings of TD Garden, whether that's just him being back in Boston, I don't know, that's probably external, but on the court, you have a job to do. And your other job here is to be better on transition defense. The turnovers were one thing, but it was the lack of getting back. It was the lack of allowing 2 or 3 passes up court to end in a Derek Lively dunk or to have a Daniel Gafford wide open down low. The transition defense wasn't terrible, but it wasn't up to par with, once again, if the Mavericks were having the offensive game they typically do, they would have been beat more times than not.
Yeah, I do have to give some flowers to Kristaps Porzingis in this scenario because he had a couple of phenomenal blocks in transition.
Yeah, he did.
That one Josh Green dunk. That felt like Terry Rozier when he went up dunk on LeBron in 2018, and LeBron just stood at the other side of the court after he sent that shit back. But Porzingis was very good. And in my opinion, I thought Porzingis was going to look a step slow. And you might have thought that on the first roll he had
off
the first possession. But then he's getting back in transition, and he's running like a gazelle out there. He looks pretty good. Overall, Celtics transition defense, yes, you have to stop ball watching. You just get back and just make the Mavs' life difficult in the half court. Because we know the Celtics' half court defense and their half court offense, for that matter, are just better than Dallas's in these scenarios. When you have them slowing things down, Boston's just better on both ends. The Mavs thrive when they're in transition. They thrive when they're running and getting the ball down low, kicking it out for a 3, and there's no defender there. That's when they're at their best, and the Celtics have to do a better job at limiting that.
Well, they're going to have to continue to do a great job on constantly switching on Luka. This is what Drew Holiday was talking about, that it's even Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench, and Drew Holiday said the reason why they were so successful on Luka is because yes, it was a double-double. I know, but it was 30, 10, and 1. That is not the stat line Luka's been having in the postseason. That's definitely not the highest stat line he'll have in the NBA Finals.
I think it was a career low in playoff assists.
Which is crazy. But Holiday was like, we have so many different style defenders. Some are aggressive, some are not. If you keep throwing them at Luka, and I'll tell you what, you have to keep throwing different level of speed defenders on him as well, different types of them, because Luka is the best. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Smitty. He's the best at switching paces. He does so well at starting off hot, dribbling down low, slows it down, and then finishes very fast. So when you've got a player like a Peyton Pritchard who only knows fast, he only knows go, 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 go. Sam Hauser always has a hand on somebody's hip. He's always right there with his man. He's definitely more of a shuffle his feet kind of defender. That's going to keep Luka off balance, and he's not going to be able to start, go, stop, do the whole 9 to get to the rack here, which is why, you can't have Holiday on him 24/7. You got Tatum on him a lot more than I thought you would. Jaylen Brown did a great job guarding Luka, specifically coming up and taking that ball up around the logo, around the three-point line, and then down low.
One possession, he didn't even let him get past half court.
No, it was beautiful. So I think you keep switching, Luka may have another game like he did at least once in the series.
I want to shout somebody out that's very special, and it was honestly a game changer in Game 1. Al Horford.
Yes.
I mean, Luka Doncic, when 38-year-old Al Horford, shout out Chris Forsberg for this tweet, was the primary defender in Game 1. Luka Doncic, 1 for 8 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, 1 block, 2 points. The Mavs were 5 for 19 overall. That's 26% from the field versus Horford overall. Team high, 13 shots contested, 3 deflections. I play him 35 minutes. I don't care. He's 38 years old. Play his age in minutes. The guy is unbelievable. He's shown no signs of slowing down, and he gets switched on the best offensive player, not named Nikola Jokic, in the NBA, and he did a masterful job on him. He locked him up. There's no way around it. You can't say 1 for 8 from the field isn't clamped the hell up.
Yeah, absolutely it is. No, I think Al Horford is not getting the recognition that he deserves, especially in Kristaps Porzingis' comeback game. So, like I said, you want to start KP, start him. You want to start Al Horford, start him. But the fact that that stat line right there proves that it can take from Peyton Pritchard to Al Horford to lock up Luka Doncic, it's going to be a long series.
There's no team that they have played that has as many bodies as
No.
Boston can throw at Luka Doncic, and that's going to make life difficult on him. He had 30 points yesterday, but we made him work for it, and we talked about that before the series as well.
But Game 2 is upon us. It is tonight. If you guys are joining Celtics Today live tonight on this Sunday night of Game 2, go on ahead and like this video for me. I want to get a nice little roll call, nice attendance, and see who's going to be joining us for Game 2 tonight on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. As always, be there. As always, hit that sub button for me. That way you guys get notified when we go live. That way you guys don't miss anything. I promise we'll never spam you. We just let you know when we post a video, when we go live. That way you guys know the latest on your Boston Celtics. All right. Thank you guys again for sticking with us through those 3 segments here. We have about 56 people that have been watching. Smitty and I are going to wrap this up here in just a few moments. We do have a couple of other things to get through today, but we want to just hop on, and we're going to do this next week as well. So we're going to be live on Thursday next week in between Game 3 and 4. So we're not going to go live Sunday through Wednesday. You know, we're going to have a lot of time to discuss all that stuff with the 3 days off. So we'll go live next Thursday in between Game 3 and Game 4 as well. Talk to you guys just like this. We'll have a mailbag. We'll answer your questions. We'll give our previews over the weekends, the whole 9. Hopefully, by the time we're live next time on just a random Thursday next week, we will be up 3-0. That would be great. That would be insane. So if you guys are glad the Boston Celtics are up 1-0 versus Dallas Mavericks, go on ahead and like this video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us here on your lunch break on whatever on this Friday afternoon. I hope you guys have the best weekend. We will see you guys live on Sunday night for Game 2. Go on ahead, hit that sub button. As always, like this video.